I can't watch the news for more than 3 minutes these days without having a complete and total rage aneurysm. Sometimes I think if I spend another minute looking directly at Caroline Leavitt's blinding white cross, I might just have a real aneurysm too. But I need something to do between podcasts and my daily 30-second interstitials of news binging, which is why I have some serious choice words for the TV execs in empty suits who are gutting networks and canceling legacy TV shows and taking over news broadcasts and installing bias monitors and merging and acquisitioning left and right so there won't even be any TV left to goddamn watch. Would you please leave us our TV? It's all we have left in this world. I feel like I can actually speak directly to this issue because I myself was a casualty of a network merger, and after 7 incredible years, my show was canceled by a guy in a fleece vest and a cup of whatever, Soylent, I don't know, so that come December, he and his minions could get a multi-million-dollar bonus and yacht away to Capri. Don't worry. Don't worry. At the time, my time slot was filled for continuity with a show called Power Slap. So it wasn't a total loss. I mean, Power Slap was pretty great. Dana White is incredible at making television content. Oh, Lord. This is Choice Words. I'm Samantha B. My guest this week is television writer and the co-creator of Hacks on HBO, Jen Statsky. This past season of Hacks certainly seemed to predict all the network nonsense plaguing late night TV right now, so we had a lot to talk about. Don't worry, if all TV is canceled, you can come see my live show. That's nice. How to Survive Menopause. Back on the road this fall. West Hampton on September 6th. Red Bank, New Jersey, September 12th. Ridgefield, Connecticut, September 21st. Detroit, September 24th, and more. So many great places that you can find and get tickets to come and see me in person, live and in person. What could be better? SamanthaB.com. So take a listen and make good choices. Jen, I'm really happy to be talking to you right now. First of all, I love Hacks. I can't even comprehend. Just tell me about Gene Smart. Let me live my dream. Jesus Christ.
I will. I know people, Gene is such a beloved person. It is funny. I'm sure you have this too, or you are this rather. It's like when someone is so loved by the nation and then privately people are like, please don't ruin her for me. She is nice. And it's a joy because it isn't always this way. But with her, it is the case that she is as lovely off screen as she is on screen. She's just an absolute pleasure.
I've only ever met her once. I met her and I met Hannah at an event, at a very weird event once in Los Angeles that we were all like, why are we here for this? But I got to say hello to them and I was super excited to meet both of them. And I almost cried when I met Jean because she's like, and she's such a pro. Like she's just one of those people.
That's one of the reasons I love working with her as much as she's such a pro. She's so and she comes from theater, which is so nice because she's such a student of the script. She's so deferential to the script. She has such an appreciation for the written word and so there's that before she starts. And then when we start rolling, it's like, oh, this is one of the greatest actors who's ever lived. And then when you meet her in person, she's just so lovely and down to earth. And I remember season 1, she was during COVID, she was like, well, I want to go to Michael's Crafts. She's just, her life, she's just out there going to Michael's and living a normal life, but happens to also be one of our greatest actors.
Wait, does she craft on is she one of those people who's always making something?
She's not. I don't see her making something. I will say she's one of our greatest nappers. So if she's not laughing with other actors in Village and hanging out with them, she does an amazing job of being able to fall asleep anywhere. So she's not crafting at Village. She's either making the other actors laugh and talking with them and being friends with them, time, or she's rightfully napping because she works, she's in almost every scene of the show, which is such a insane load. No, she's not. I don't know what she was getting at Michael's that day. Maybe frames. I feel like picture frames. She's very into Christmas. It might have been around Christmas time. I will say that. That is something from Jean's real life that we kind of infused into Deborah Vance, is this extreme love of Christmas and decorating for the holidays.
Oh my God, I love that so much. Do we think that Jean has, sorry, this podcast is not the Jean Smart podcast.
I love it. I'd rather talk about Jean Smart than Jen Statsky, so I'm happy to do it.
Do we think that Jean Smart has a separate Christmas tree in her bedroom just to admire? Because I do know people who have that.
That's so interesting. I don't think she does, but I'm going to tell her she should.
Yes. Yeah. I have resources.
Yeah.
I just learned that there are people who are Christmas tree obsessed and they have like a special tree just for themselves.
Wow. In their room. That makes sense, because I bet it's really beautiful with the lights at night and you just want it in the corner of your room. You don't want to have to go down the living room to see it.
Okay. We're talking about Hacks. We're talking about Jen Statsky. Unfortunately for you, now we transition
to me. Yeah.
How do you make decisions for yourself? Are you like a very decisive person? Are you?
That's a really good question. I'm decisive if it is only, here's how I distinguish it. If it's a decision that only involves myself, yes, I'm very decisive. I'm very my friends make fun of me because I'm someone who's like, if I go into a store, you know how some people like hem and haw and they're like, should I get this shirt? Or like, I'll come back, I'll try it on. I'm very like, yep, I'll get it. I'm very decisive about things that only affect me. Once it starts affecting other people, I get pretty in my head about it. And then I become less decisive.
Are you seeking information and counsel from other people? Are you trying to reach consensus with other people? Or are you just agonizing over the possible outcomes in their life? Or all?
No, it's a lot of consulting, because the way we run Hacks, I run it with Paul W. Downs and Lucia Agnello. So the three of us show run together. And we really do make every decision together. It's not like some people think, do you handle that part and they handle that part? And it's really like run by a committee of three and we talk about everything. So in that way, it's a lot of talking about it, in the sense of, just there's so many decisions you make on a daily basis. Who are we hiring for this? Are we going to, give this person this assignment? Are we going to do this? And so it's a lot of those decisions, like I was saying, that affect others that become part of the decision. But luckily I have two people that it's their job to talk about it with me.
Can I ask, how did you, you're incredibly experienced. I've known your work for such a long time, but how did you come to pitch Hacks, and how did you know that you wanted to build the show because these are your two best
friends. Yeah. So we all met in New York doing comedy, doing UCB, back in Lucia and I were in a sketch group in 2008, and that's how we first met. And just quickly loved each other, had like a very complimentary senses of humor. And then she introduced me to Paul, and same thing. And I was really just like such a fan of their work. They were, performing and making videos, and it was still like fairly new to be just like making your own content and putting it on YouTube. And, Paul and Lucia were making these really funny, really like well-directed, well-made videos. And I was just such a fan of theirs. So I'm sure you find this too, like, the people you love working with the most are the people you're genuinely just a fan of, and that make you better, because, it's playing tennis with someone who's better at it makes you a better tennis player. That's just kind of how it goes. And so pretty like immediately I just knew that they were people who I wanted to work with and wanted to be in their orbit. And then I kind of went on my own path and was doing, writing stuff on my own. But we always were, again, really close. And I would, punch up sketches for them and stuff. And then in doing that, there was this Netflix character sketch special that Paul was shooting. And they asked me, to consult on it. And so we were on a road trip up to Maine in 2015 to shoot a sketch that Paul was in at a monster truck rally, actually.
Right.
And
well, you go to Maine for those.
Yeah, exactly. You go to Portland, Maine for those.
Yeah.
And, it was still in that era around 2015, like a lot of male comedians in the kind of like streaming auteur world had gotten their shot at like a show centered around them and a show about following a male comedian and what that was. And we just started talking about female comedians that we loved and how there wasn't really like the same reverence or space given to them. And so even though, of course, Deborah Vance is fictional, we started talking about a character like her that would be like an amalgamation of Joan Rivers, Phyllis Diller, Debbie Reynolds, all these women that we admired, even Kathy Griffin, people who I think, people who had been pounding the pavement and working for so long and building up a stand-up career, but were sometimes written off way quicker than their male counterparts.
I mean, sometimes written off. I think every time.
Every time written off. Yeah.
Every time. I cannot tell you the number of conversations I've had with famous men who dismiss those female comedians like instantly.
I know. It's crazy.
Not my thing. I don't like it. I'm not into it. I don't get it.
Yep.
Does nothing for me. And I'm like, oh my God.
I know. It's
These
crazy.
People, they're in the DNA of every like female comedian who ever came after, like their work ethic. My God.
Exactly. And Lucia and I especially talked about that a lot. We also, when we started officially working, when, my first full-time job in comedy was 2011. And I was one of 2 women on staff of a late night show. And I get it less frequently now, but I remember back then if I did a panel or whatever, it was always like, what's it like to be a woman in comedy? What's it like to be the only woman? Like that was always a question I got. And Lucia too, like any of us, and I'm sure you've answered it ad nauseum. And the interesting thing was like, we found that we were at a very interesting middle ground where, of course, I had my horror stories and examples of things said to me that were terrible. But then when I looked back at things that those women had to deal with, far worse, far more extreme, far crazier. And so I was very aware that, I was walking the path that they made for me. And that's really how the Ava character came into creation, because it was us thinking of our experiences in comedy and realizing like, even though it's certainly not easy, certainly not perfect, certainly we experience sexism, it's far better than what it could have been. And a lot of that rests on the shoulders of those women.
I guess when you pitched it and when it got great, well, first of all, 2 female leads in a series. I mean, how'd you slip that in?
Well, don't worry. One of them is 72.
Okay.
and the other is completely unknown as an actor. Honestly, that is a real testament to what is commonly said, which I find to be really true, is like you really need to find a person who is a champion of the idea and just gets it in a way that will fight for it. And so we went around town and we had a few offers, definitely had a lot of passes, because I think exactly what you're saying. People just, it was too inside baseball. It was just these 2 female leads. It was not like sticky in the way that a genre piece is, or, there's not a dead body in the first 5 minutes.
I'm not a sexy dead body.
Not a sexy dead body, yeah. But this was back in 2019 which is crazy because it was only 6 years ago. But if you look at the TV landscape, it's like crazy different. So Warner Brothers Discovery at the time had, or I don't even know if it was Warner Brothers Discovery, honestly, but whatever it was, Warner Media was creating their streamer. HBO Max didn't even exist. We were going around pitching and they were like, David Miner, an EP on Hacks who represents Mike Schur, credit to him, was like, hey, I know you've pitched these few places. We had a couple offers, but it didn't seem like anybody was like in love, passionate about the show. Right. And he was like, Warner Media is doing a streamer, and this really great executive, Susanna Makos, who loves comedy, is such a fan of comedy, is going to be running comedy for them. And I think this is up her alley. Would you do one more pitch to her? And we were at that point, we had pitched it maybe 7 places. We were exhausted from that. We were like, okay, sure. And that really, like, you know, if you look at the history of Hacks, is like a huge inflection point, because Susanna just got it immediately. She understood what the show was. She understood who the Deborah Vance character was. She knew it was the story of these women and what we were trying to do. And she stopped us halfway through the pitch or to ask a question, but she was like, just so you know, it's bought. Like, I'm buying it.
Oh my God.
Yeah, which is amazing and rarely happens.
So rare.
So rare. And then she brought it to Sarah Aubrey, who is another amazing executive over at HBO Max. And they just got it. And they really championed it. And there were so many points. You know, we were supposed to shoot the pilot of it during COVID. And then, you know, right when COVID hit is when we were casting it. And it was this really scary moment of like, as you remember, can we shoot? Will we ever shoot again? And they went to their bosses and got the approval for us to start writing, which allowed us to just write the whole first season, which, you know, we're just like, you know, it is really a story. And I will always take it going forward in my creative career of like, executives who get it and champion it really can make all the difference. And so we're very lucky to be over there with Casey and Sarah. And
I know Sarah because Sarah worked at TV. And she was, and she is a real champion for shows that she really cares about. She's amazing. She's amazing.
She really cares. And she's one of my, like, I love when executives come from like a producing background, like when they've been on set and have made things, because they really understand creatives and also just like what it takes to make something. Yeah, she's incredible.
If you've ever shopped online, you know that the reason most people abandon their carts isn't because they don't want the items anymore, but because they don't want to get up and go get their card. Part of the reason why some businesses are so successful is because they allow customers to save their information, making checkouts fast and pain-free. You might have seen a purple button at checkout with the word shop sticking out amongst all the other payment options. That's Shopify's Shop Pay. And there's a reason so many businesses sell with it. Shopify doesn't just make the buying experience better for customers. They are also the experts in helping small businesses grow big and complete sales, which is why so many businesses rely on Shopify. Shopify's point of sale system is a unified command center for your retail business. It brings together in-store and online operations across up to 1,000 locations. Imagine being able to guarantee that shopping is always convenient. Endless aisles, ship to customer, buy online and pick up in store, all made simpler so customers can shop how they want and staff have the tools to close the sale every time. Let's face it, acquiring new customers is expensive. With Shopify POS, you can keep shoppers coming back with personalized experiences and first-party data that give marketing teams a competitive edge. In fact, it's proven. Based on a report from EY, businesses on Shopify POS see real results, like 22% better total cost of ownership and benefits equivalent to an 8.9% uplift in sales on average relative to the market set surveyed. Stop seeing carts going abandoned and turn those sales into... Sign up for your $1 per month trial and start selling today at shopify.com/Samby. Go to shopify.com/Samby. Shopify.com/Samby. Tell me what it was like transitioning. So is this the first time, like, have you run a show fully prior to
I'd never.
Is your first?
Yeah, okay. This was my first. I mean, I had come up through the Mike Schur world. So I got, my first staff job was on Parks and Recreation. So I was a staff writer there. And then I really worked my way up just in terms of, I went from Parks and Rec to Good Place. And I learned from Mike Schur, in a lot of ways like that. I was very lucky to have a kind of traditional writer path where I went from late night show as just a staff writer to a narrative show staff writer and went up through the levels to co-EP. And so by the end of my time on Good Place, I was a co-EP. And so there were times when I would be sort of me or one of the other co-EPs would be running the room, which just, leading the conversation. So I had a little experience with that, but I really didn't have experience with full on show running. Like that was, you learn it doing it basically.
You learn it by doing it. And it is really like, for people who are listening who don't really know what a showrunner does, a showrunner does every single thing.
Yeah.
Literally, the buck stops with the showrunner or the show running team. Like,
yes.
Down to who's getting a birthday cake, like in the office.
Truly. It's an incredible amount of decisions and things to think about. And from the very small, like interpersonal things, like you're saying in an office, to like, oh, at this press junket, they need 5 clips. Which 5 clips do you want to show? You know, it's like,
yeah.
And in that way, you know, one of the reasons we love working with like HBO and their marketing team and their awards, everybody, is that they're so collaborative. Like I have heard horror stories of other showrunners who don't get to have that control or don't get to have that input. And so, you know, it's interesting because sometimes you're like, God, another decision, the onslaught of decisions, but then you realize the opposite would be even worse because you wouldn't be able to be participating in like things about your work.
I think that's 100% true. It's like the decision making is totally overwhelming until you try to outsource some of that decision making and somebody makes the wrong decision.
Right, exactly.
Like, well, I can't.
Yeah. Are you like a very, like Paulage and I've learned in doing this, like we are very not control freak, I wouldn't say. Like I don't care about what anyone does except with my show, I am pretty control obsessed. Are you like were you like that with your show? Yeah,
actually, yes. You know, in unexpected ways. It was like, I just like the set to feel a certain way too.
Yes.
Like, I mean, down to like just how many people were on set. Like all of those little things just made it, I actually liked it to be easier than I think people wanted to make it all the time.
Yes,
like, I think that sometimes when networks and more traditional producers get involved in stuff, or like if you hire from outside and they're like, well, we need a whole trailer and we need this and we've got to have catering for this. And you're like, just take a stop. Stop it.
Yep.
I just want to go out in the field with 4 people.
Yes. Well, you had what I find to be so interesting, especially having worked on a late night show and just being like, you were the host and you were the face of the show. And there's so many people working around you to give you what they think you want or what they think you'll need.
Yes.
And when you're like a chill, cool person who, like you're saying, you're like, no, I don't need a huge trailer. I just want to, like, it is interesting because sometimes you have to be aware of that and be aware of what people are overcompensating to do for you to like make you happy.
There's like an overcompensation sometimes. It just, I like to be involved in the decision making.
Yes.
And I will say that like my team was incredible. Everybody was like on board working toward the goal, which was, you know, evolved through the years, like evolved over time. We did our show for 7 seasons. You're going into your 5th season.
Yeah.
These are like, these numbers are impossible now.
I know,
like,
and sadly rare. But I know what you mean. Like we feel very lucky that most of our crew has come back every season and we really feel, you know, as much as you can, like a work family. Yeah. But you do have to, you have to be conscientious of it. Like you're saying, you have to cultivate the environment. And if you're not doing it from the top, it's just not going to happen.
It's not going to happen. And it's like a little bit like pruning a bonsai forest, a little bit. It's It's pretty delicate. It's actually really hard work. To create a work culture that you yourself want to work in.
Exactly. And that's what I find to be the most challenging part of show running. And same as what you're saying, what you do is like the managing of the work culture and the management aspect is so separate from the creative.
It is.
It has nothing to do with, like, it does impact each other. If one is bad, it can seep into the other. But as a boss, you have to keep your eye on both. And that is really difficult.
It's really difficult. I love having this conversation actually, because I think it's like not had quite enough. Like I want to know the difficulties of being the boss. I think are very intriguing to me. Like, and see if this resonates with you. I actually found it very difficult to transition from being someone else's employee to being an employer. Who I thought of myself as an employee.
100%.
For a while.
I found that very challenging because my whole life like suffered from like good student syndrome. Like I did very well in school because I was just like, okay, there's a task and there's a person who do I need to please? Who do I need to make happy? Is the teacher? Okay, great. Next time it's my boss? Great. And then it switched to just stopping with me. And that was really challenging. I find the most challenging part, which I think is what you're saying too, in terms of cultivating a good work environment, is that distinction between being considerate of people's feelings, being aware of people as human beings and what they need and their emotions, but also it being a job and a workplace and managing that, I find to be very difficult.
It's very difficult and very rewarding. I think it would be difficult to go back to not being in charge because it comes with the ability to like realize your vision in a very specific way. And once you are able to do that, you don't want to go back, but it can be fraught. It can be
yes. But you're right that it's very rewarding in the sense of like, one of the things I find the most rewarding on the show is like just seeing people who get to be recognized for their work and like thrive and do what they're so good at and always want to do. And then they're like, you know, they're allowed to do it through this vessel of a thing you've created. I find very satisfying.
Very satisfying. So talk to me about the climate of making a show, creating a show that is based in late night when the late night world is really so contracted and looks so different now than it did even 6 years. I mean, it's like a whole other world.
I know. It was a challenge for sure. Because exactly what you're saying, even 6 years ago. So when we pitched this show in 2019, it was very built into the character that this was her white whale. This is the thing she had a pilot for, like she had not gotten. It was the thing she always wanted to get back to. And then, of course, through both the character's fictional career and our real life careers and world, the late night landscape has drastically changed. And so we wanted to and did speak to that in the show because we felt it wouldn't be truthful or resonate if we didn't, of just kind of the contraction of late night. And that's why, you know, the Helen Hunt character is very pushing for a spin-off of the show because you know, a property needs to be lucrative and spin off different you know, brands and properties so that it can remain successful. And so we did want to speak to that. But yeah, it was scary because it's also like, as we saw with our finale aired and then 3 months later, Colbert, I don't even know if it was 3 months, it's changing so fast. You know, we were like, is this going to be relevant in 6 months? You know, so it's really been wild to watch it happen, as I'm sure it has for you.
Are you writing your 5th season now?
So we're writing our 5th season. Yeah.
Well, I mean, the timing is great. Because the landscape
to talk about the comedy landscape. Yeah.
So Elizabeth Warren FaceTimed into your writer's room to talk about Colbert's cancellation. Tell me, what was that?
That was very exciting. You know, someone had reached out to Paul because they were, you know, they were fans of the show, her and her team, and it was lovely. And of course, with Deborah giving up late night in our show and what happened with Colbert, it was definitely a moment to discuss that and talk about it. And, you know, it's sad. It's like, I wish it weren't relevant to the world, but it is. One thing we're very interested in, just as creators of the show and the subject matter of the show, is the intersection between like the business and the art, the creative and the business. And so that was something we obviously really wanted to explore this past season and continue to explore. And so, of course, what you're seeing play out in real life now is the exact manifestation of that exact problem of the business versus the creative, and how do things remain profitable and make sense in this world.
Yeah, it's not like, you know, when you launch your career and you're like, I'm going to write and I'm going to create these shows, you're not necessarily thinking, how can I diversify across multiple social media platforms? And I want to go to the upfronts. How do we
speak for yourself? I'm all about brand equity and stock shareholder price. I want the stock price to soar.
Me too. God bless. Everybody get those.
When
Get
I do my
those.
artist way journaling in the morning, it's all about stock price and shareholder value.
My polar fleece vest, my retreat in Aspen, all of that.
No, it's really wild. It's really wild. And it's also just branches into every industry now of like just, this incredible pressure for growth and growth over all else. And things need to, Hollywood for a long time had a pretty good business model and sustained itself. And a lot of people made a lot of money, and it was really, I think, working okay. And then in the last decade or so, obviously streaming has been wonderful in a lot of ways. I don't think I'd have this show in the air if it wasn't on a streamer.
Right.
But it's also really upended things in a big, big way.
But I do think that when people are entering this realm and they want to create shows, it is now an important part of the job to consider all the business aspects of it as well. Like it's actually, there's no option to only consider the creative anymore.
I know.
That's difficult.
It is difficult. And I think like what's tricky too, especially as a young writer coming into the business, I found that like I've changed my tune on this. It's been an interesting learning moment for me, because when I first started and I would like go to Deadline or read about things, it would be indulging this negative instinct in me, I think, to compare myself to what other people were doing,
right?
And which is a problem, I think, for a lot of creatives in this business. And so I kind of was like, oh, I shouldn't pay attention to that. But I've had to really kind of adjust that, because I found that in the not paying attention, you do lose a lot. You're not thinking about the business aspect of your career. You're not aware of what's happening. And I agree that like I always tell young writers now, like, don't be aware of what everyone else in the industry is doing from competition, but do be aware of it and what's happening in the landscape, because it will inform your career and help you make educated, great decisions. It's like trust your reps, but don't trust them so much that you're not aware of what they're doing and asking them hard questions.
You just realized your business needed to hire someone yesterday. How can you find amazing candidates fast? Easy. Just use Indeed. When it comes to hiring, Indeed is all you need. Stop struggling to get your job posts seen on other job sites. Indeed's sponsored jobs help you stand out and hire fast. With sponsored jobs, your post jumps to the top of the page for your relevant candidates, so you can reach the people you want faster, and it makes a huge difference. According to Indeed data, sponsored jobs posted directly on Indeed have 45% more applications than non-sponsored jobs. Plus, with Indeed sponsored jobs, there are no monthly subscriptions, no long-term contracts, and you only pay for results. One of the things I actually really love about Indeed is that they have absolutely everything you need to hire in one place, okay? Resumes, messaging, scheduling. No more posting on message boards, emailing back and forth with the resumes, trying to keep track of who said what, when they said it. Indeed just makes hiring simple, which allows you to hire faster. How fast is Indeed? In the minute I've been talking to you, 23 hires were made on Indeed, according to Indeed data worldwide. There's no need to wait any longer. Speed up your hiring right now with Indeed. And listeners of this show will get a $75 sponsored job credit to get your jobs more visibility at Indeed.com/SamB. Just go to Indeed.com/SamB right now and support our show by saying you heard about Indeed on this podcast. Indeed.com/SamB. Terms and conditions apply. Hiring. Indeed is all you need. Moms, you do everything for everyone else, and somehow your own wellness always gets bumped to the bottom of the list. That's where Live It Up Super Greens comes in. It's a daily habit that actually works. No hassle, no fuss, just scoop, mix, and go. Whether you're tackling school drop-off, conference calls, or the laundry mountain, this is one easy win that supports digestion, energy, and immune health in just 30 seconds. Live It Up Super Greens is an all-natural blend of over 20 superfoods formulated with organic vegetables, probiotics, digestive enzymes, and naturally derived ingredients. I've been mixing Live It Up Super Greens with my morning smoothie, which I love, especially in the summer. I was genuinely shocked. Yeah, I was actually shocked to find that a green drink could taste so very good. Live It Up is like a very quick and easy hack to stay on top of my health. It is a small habit, but it has a ripple effect. 96% of people who take Super Greens daily say it helped them increase their daily intake of vegetables and help them feel healthier. And because it's free from sugar, dairy, gluten, and anything artificial, it's something you can feel good about taking every day. Whether you're juggling work, kids, or just trying to feel a little more like yourself, Live It Up Super Greens are a small step that makes a big difference. Live It Up is offering you 15% off your first order, including subscriptions with code CHOICEWORDS. Plus, shipping's always free. Head to letsliveit.com/choicewords and use code CHOICEWORDS for 15% off your first Super Greens order. These statements have not been evaluated by the FDA. This product is not intended to diagnose, treat, cure, or prevent any diseases. It does always sort of surprise me, the number of people who are kind of coming up and they don't read the trades. And I'm like,
Yeah.
you kind of, I know it's very hard. It's actually very hard to balance your competitive energy, and you can't like live in a world of envy and feel like other people are working and you're not working, but you do have to know what the landscape is doing, how it's trending. You have to know what shows have been picked up so that you don't then go out and try to pitch a show that exists.
Exactly. Yeah, totally. I know. And it's also like, I think like bad, like we all have our examples of the people who are so kind of like always looking over your shoulder at a party or too interested in that aspect. So I think there's also a fear I find in some writers of becoming that. So they try to go the other way, which I fully understand. I actually really admire when people are so, I guess, like artists about it in a way that, and can't even let that part into their brain. But it is like you're saying, it is at the end of the day, it is like a creative business. It's not just the creative.
Yes. Just like have a dip a toe in awareness. Of landscape. Like, it doesn't have to be, if it's all that, then that's terrible too. That's balance.
Yes, it's the balance.
I do really appreciate that. I think that your show really balances that that push and pull between like idealism, between like youthful idealism and like wanting the world to be a better place, with the needs and with the like sucking vortex of the business. I feel like it's always like in conversation.
Thank you.
On the show.
Yeah,
in a really,
thank you.
In a meaningful way. And I wonder, like, I mean, you must experience that.
Yeah, no,
running
thank
the business that you do.
Yeah, thank you. I mean, thank you for noticing that. And that is very much intentional, and it's reflective of how we think. Like, I think we're both very aware of the problems, and I get frustrated and angry on behalf of what's happening in the business at times. But at the end of the day, like, I'm I guess a hopeful pessimist, if that makes sense. Like, I both see the problems, but at the end of the day, I don't want to just be fully doom and gloom about it, because why still be trying? And I think I also recognize, and I'm sure you feel this way too, like, I'm really lucky to be in the position I am, and I've reached a position of somewhat privilege. And so if I'm going doom and gloom and I'm like, it's all fucked and whatever, like, that feels like, well, aren't I someone who has some amount of agency to do something? And so thank you for noticing that. Because we do try to balance that in the show very much. You don't want to be Pollyanna and just make it like, no, at the end of the day, good work wins or whatever.
Yes. But I think hopeful pessimism is the exact right blend, because in the end, you are actually making a show.
Right, exactly. That's the thing.
It's still great.
Exactly. Yeah. It's always hard when you're like, isn't this stupid what we all do? And it's like, but you do it.
But you do it. You could do something else if you really hated it that much.
Exactly.
There's always going back to school. Yeah. We can all go back to school and become zoologists.
Yes, yeah.
You get to do 10 episodes, right? 10?
We do.
Is that right?
We actually, every season, here's the truth, is you're right in all cases.
Okay.
Season 1, we did 10. Season 2, we did 8. Season 3, we did 9. Season 4, we did 10. So that's why you don't know. is because you do know. You're right in all cases.
I can't pin you down.
I'm an enigma. Right. Well, and honestly, credit to like HBO on that because, they're not a place that goes, we need this number of episodes and I don't care. They're very deferential to, hey, we feel story, season 3 was going to be 8, I believe. And then we were breaking the story of Deborah chasing this late night show. Mm-hmm. And that was the 5th episode where they go on a hike together and get lost in the woods. Their name, that was kind of a late addition because we were looking at the scope of the season and feeling like it was so singularly focused on this late night goal, which in some ways was wonderful and very like propulsive. But we felt like we needed a breath and we needed kind of an episode that felt a little different and felt a little more like Hacks in that it was a Deborah and Ava connection and them just kind of digging into talking about aging and the environment. And they were so supportive and we're like, yeah, if you feel creatively that's what you need, like, and you can figure it out and, great. And so we've been really lucky, but I think people are confused sometimes because they're like, what? Is this the last episode?
Or was that the penultimate?
Yeah, exactly.
That is very rare. I mean, I think we've all sat down to watch like a documentary series and we've been like, well, there's 8 episodes here and there's about 45 minutes worth of story.
Yeah, exactly. Totally. Exactly. Yeah. It's wild because that's also like such a creation of the last decade. Like that's such a streaming thing. It's like it used to be 22, or I guess sometimes networks would like order an extra. We had that happen on Parks and Rec, I think, when they like order an extra one and then you're like, I got to do one more. But for the most part, it was pretty always set.
So now we're telling all of our Academy voters to vote for Hacks, including myself. We have to say that. It's very important.
You're reminding yourself to vote.
I'm reminding myself and others. Do you love all that? How do you feel about all that stuff? Is so crazy going to those shows.
Oh, yeah.
Those award shows.
I find you really, in a way that helps me think about it, is like you have to think about it holistically about the show and everyone who works on the show getting to be recognized and awarded. Right. But like when I get like singular and I think about it only about me from like a solo, that feels uncomfortable and
right.
I get very writer about it. But the thing that's been really cool is the awards are of course are like, it is so, to make a show in this era and have even anyone watch is amazing because there are so many shows, and then to have it be like recognized by your peers is so incredible. And so while it is kind of at times a trippy thing to talk about, like rewarding show art and being like, what is the best, who did art best, it helps me to put it in context of, we work so hard on the show, not just the 3 of us, but our entire writing staff, our entire cast, our entire crew. And the people I see coming to work every day do deserve to be rewarded because they work so hard. They are such artists and hard workers. And so seeing people like, Kathleen Felix Hager, our costume designer, like she won the Emmy season 2. And that was such an amazing moment. She's someone who's worked in this industry for a while and she does such like the care and work she puts into things and how much, and just across the board, every department from our writers to every single person on our crew. So I think I try to just put it in the perspective of it being for everyone, because otherwise, if you think of it too much about just yourself, it gets uncomfortable, I find.
This has been great. I love talking about the business with, I don't know, just like it's nice with a pretty like-minded person.
Yes,
I think it's like it's very fulfilling.
Yeah.
So how do you, so when you're decompressing, do you watch things? Do you watch television? Well, you went to see Weapons.
I went to see Weapons. Yeah, that was the first time I've been in the movies in like a while.
Okay.
While I'm writing, and honestly, just in general, making the show, I don't take in a lot of like narrative fiction because I find that it like kind of messes with the storytelling. Like I really only read nonfiction, or I tend to watch documentaries more than other like other comedies, especially. I'll still watch like some comedies, and there are shows I really love, but for the most part, I'm not watching a ton of like narrative TV. I'm a big basketball fan, so when basketball season is happening, I'm very much following that. I'm following a lot of like unsolved true crime Reddits.
Okay.
So I'm going to
that
those.
Totally makes sense. I think it's actually, I share that. I'm like, I really can't. It's actually pretty hard to watch comedy.
Yeah. What do you watch?
Weapons. Like I'm if there's a horror, if there's a fresh horror movie, I'm like, let me go. Let me go see that immediately.
Yes.
Like I'm like almost pre-buying tickets. To the most grisly.
Right. I love going to the movies. So I don't get to do as much as I wish, but I do love going to the movies. So anytime there's like an experience movie like that to see. Something a little scary, something dark. Like my taste runs quite dark. Yeah. You know what show I watch religiously and like rewatch is Couples Therapy on Showtime.
Oh my God, I've never watched it.
Oh, you gotta. I mean, it's not everyone's cup of tea. Everyone always is like, or not everyone. I'm like, I want to be a therapist. I want to quit the business and become a therapist. And it is like so up my alley.
Ooh,
if you're interested in that type of thing, it's fat. Do you know what it is?
I do know what it is.
Yeah, it's fascinating.
But I don't know why I never dipped my toe in that, but now I feel like we're aligned. I'm gonna give it a shot.
Yeah.
I rewatched all of Fargo. Which is why Jean Smart is so on my mind.
Oh my gosh, she's so good and scary and like different in that. She's incredible.
Incredible. And I watched it. I forced my teenagers to watch it. And they were
did they like it?
Yeah, they loved it.
Yeah.
She's scary as shit.
She's really scary. It's amazing.
What a great conversation this was.
Yeah, this was a pleasure.
I really hope your Academy voting season goes incredibly well. It's not almost but a thrill.
Will you hit the campaign trail for us? Will you go out on the streets for us?
100%. I'm already painting a sandwich board.
Yeah. I'd love you sign spinning on like the corner of Fairfax or something.
100%. Thanks so much for talking to me today. And what a pleasure.
What a pleasure. Thank you for having me.
That was Jen Statsky, and I had no choice but to look up one thing. We were talking about how when she pitched Hacks, HBO Max didn't even exist yet. Oh my goodness, the saga of HBO streaming. I had to look up how many names it's even gone through recently, and the answer is 5? First it was HBO Go, then it was HBO Now, then it was HBO Max, then just Max, and now it's back to HBO Max. Or at least it was at the time of this recording. Samantha B. Max, thanks for joining us. I'm Samantha B., and we'll see you next week for some more choice words. Thank you for listening to Choice Words, which was created by and is hosted by me. The show is produced by Tzvia Baron-Reinstein with editing and additional producing by Josh Richmond. We're distributed by Lemonada Media, and you can find me at RealSamB on X and Instagram. Follow Choice Words wherever you get your podcasts or listen ad-free on Amazon Music with your Prime membership.